talks. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm excited to share with you tonight my journey in developing social enterprise at Community Seeds. Before we do that, I would like to ask your help. So if I could get everybody to just raise your hand for just a minute, just put it up in the air, keep it up there for just a minute. What I'd like to know is if you have ever known someone who has lived with or taken care of someone who has autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, or some other developmental disability, keep your hand up. If not, put your hand down. Okay, great. Everybody put your hand down. If you looked around, you could see that almost everybody kept their hand up. So that tells me the research is pretty accurate. The Centers for Disease Control tell us that 1 in 6 children will be born with a disability. Now, some of them will overcome their disability by the time they reach adulthood. Many of them will not. Autism doesn't go away. Neither does cerebral palsy or Down syndrome. And so that tells me that we have a common concern here that is deserving of our attention and our tenderness. Now, a developmental disability is defined by our state as a condition that is diagnosed by the age of 18 that affects function lifelong. And disability knows no boundaries. It doesn't care where you live, how much money you make, what your education is, or your ethnicity. It's in every nook and cranny of our county. And that is the reason that the mission at Community Seeds is to enhance the lives of adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities by creating opportunities for inclusion in community through social enterprise. So, just what is social enterprise? Well, for us at Community Seeds, that means we enter the marketplace, we share with our community our passion for our mission, and through innovation, we generate revenue that we put back into our organization to create more opportunities for more people. And so, why do we need social enterprise? We have Children's Village, and they're awesome. We have special education in our school system. Let me ask you this. What does a child with disabilities grow up to be? They become an adult with disabilities who still need our support. When a child turns 18, they, what we call, age out of childhood services. That means they can no longer participate in pediatric services. If they're in special education, they can stay in school till they're 21, if they make it that far. Who of us wants to stay in high school till 21? But that's the limit for them. And when that happens, they essentially get the boot. They get the boot out of society. Most of them, over 80%, live at home with family. That's great. But they're at high risk of isolation. What would you and I do if that's all we could do is sit at home all day? I hear from parents all the time, my daughter won't come out of her room. My son just sits on the couch watching TV or playing his video games. What resources do we have? What can you tell us? Where can we go? And my answer is, there's very little out there. And so that's why Community Seeds is developing social enterprise. In 2018, the Washington State Developmental Disabilities Administration tell us that we had 1,086 children enrolled in services here in Yakima County. And we had 1,212 adults. Of those adults, only 180 were in employment programs in Yakima County. Out of over 62,000 jobs available in Yakima County that are not agriculture, we only have 180 people with disabilities in those jobs. If your calculator only goes 2 decimal points, they don't even show up because it's a 0.0029%. That's not very good. And if you do the math, it's more alarming if you see what we saw. Over the next 18 years, those 1,212 adults, they're going to march their way into adulthood, and we're going to have 2,298 adults in 18 years who need our support. And if that doesn't get you riled up, right now in Yakima County, we have 389 adults who have disability that are 21 years and older that have asked for services around employment and day activities so they can get connected to community. They can't get them because there's no funding, which is a little ironic because Washington State has one of the best economies in the nation, and yet we are ranked 41st, almost at the bottom of the barrel, for our fiscal spending on our citizens with developmental disability. So we have to do something, and we need to do something different. Clearly what we've been doing, the traditional methods we've been doing, have not been working. We only have 180 people in jobs. So it's been inadequate, and the demand is only going to grow. So we have to do something different and new and innovative. And so at Community Seeds, we have come up with a master plan. We want to have a 3-acre campus that becomes a social enterprise hub in Yakima County, located in Zilla. Yes, I said Zilla on purpose and intentional. Our board was very strategic when we made our plan. Zilla is centrally located, and we want to offer resources to those who are further away from Yakima, because I'll tell you, what we hear is people who live in Grandview and Mabton, they have a 2-hour round trip if they work in Yakima. If they only have a part-time job, I mean, who of us would do that? So Zilla is a great central location for us. Now in our master plan, that includes a facility that will have about a 300-seat event center. We'll have an upscale restaurant, a bakery, so we can do things like specialty cakes for weddings, things like that. We'll have doggy daycare and grooming. We have a hotel next to us with 40 pet-friendly rooms, so that works out. We want an outdoor dog park that's membership-based with tunnels and bridges and digging pits and special member-only events. Phase 2 of this plan will have a horticulture campus. We'll have a greenhouse, a garden center, and a florist shop. We'll have a variety of opportunities for people to come into one location to explore job training and career paths. We'll be able to create 100 jobs there. Now, that is a big, huge project for a young organization like ours. And so what the board did was say, you know what, we need to take a little pilot project out of this. So for our first 2 years, we thought, you know what, we need to put some greenhouses up. For every 1,000 square foot greenhouse we put up, we can put 40 people into jobs or activities. And we're an ag community. Hand in glove, right? That should go over big. 2 years, we did not find $1 single of support. So we went back to the drawing board and said, whoa, we have really got to find something different here. So what can we do? So we pulled out our culinary program and said, let's do a cafe. At least we know everybody's got to eat. But will they come to eat in Zilla if we just have a cafe? So I went and did some more research, and I came across cat cafes. There were a couple in Seattle, some in California, New York, and Music City Cat Cafe in Nashville had just opened. And I pitched it to the board. They bought into it. I threw it out to the media. They nibbled, put it out there, and public interest exploded. There's a lot of crazy cat people out there, I guess. Now, I am happy to say that we were able to open our cat cafe, Calico Cat Cafe. We had our grand opening in Zilla on August 24th and had about 300 people out our first weekend, so that was great. And so, what is a cat cafe exactly anyway? Typically, they are a coffee house. And they bring in catered food, and people take their goodies and their coffee and go into the adoption lounge with shelter cats and hopefully adopt a cat. Well, we wanted to have a cafe, a fully functioning cafe. So I put together a design that I thought the health department I hoped they would approve, and they did. We have a totally separate entrance on the outside of our building. We have viewing windows in our dining room with counter seating so people can watch the cats. The windows do not open, so they can't get in and sip up your coffee or lap up your sausage gravy on your biscuits. And it has a separate air system, so none of that air circulates back into the kitchen or the dining room area. So even if you hate cats, there's not much I can do for you there, but you can still come into our cafe. And if you have allergies, you can still come into the cafe and have a meal with us. The cats also provide therapy-rich activities for people of all abilities. We've already adopted out 4 of them, and we had 13. So the reason that I'm so passionate about this work is because I had an uncle who was born with cerebral palsy in the 1940s. And back then, families were told, if you have a child with developmental disability, put them in an institution, forget about it, and go on with your life. Well, my grandparents would have nothing to do with that. So as a result, I grew up with a very unique childhood, although I didn't know it because I thought everybody had an Uncle Fred in their family. It wasn't until junior high when we went on a field trip to SELA school, Yakima Valley School, that I observed my classmates, and they had no clue how to interact with a person with severe disability. And I totally admired my uncle. He was fiercely independent. But eventually he ended up having to go to the place we never wanted him to be. My grandfather was injured, my grandmother had to go to work, and we had no in-home care supports back then. So he had to go to the institution in Buckley. He was there for a few years. My grandmother found a job at a nursing home, brought him there where she could see him every day and we could come visit and he could come home for holidays and special events, or just whenever we wanted him to. But he never got to go to school. He never got an education. Kids were not allowed to go to school back then. In fact, it was the early 70s, and Washington State, we can be proud of this, was the first state in the country to bring special education into law. After that, the federal government came to us for advice, and we have special education in every state now. But Uncle Fred did not get to have an education. He didn't get to go to school. He didn't get to have a best friend. He didn't get to have a first date. And he certainly did not get to have a career. He taught me a lot about disability, but he taught me more about ability. As I said, he was fiercely independent, and I can remember him. I can hear his voice still. When we would help him do something that he could do himself, or if he felt we treated him like a baby, he would beller out, "I am not a baby." And he was right. He was not a baby. He was someone who was trying to be the man he knew he could become, but never got the opportunity. And that's why I am so excited to be able to hire people to come and work with me at the Cat Cafe with different abilities. In fact, this is Ray. He's getting some time on the grill, learning some culinary skills. And another employee we have is Leandro. He too has cerebral palsy. He's very mobile. He has his own car. He gets around. He has his bachelor's degree in social work. He interned for me in my other agency about 7 years ago. And he came to me a few months ago, "Can I work for you? I can wash dishes. I can mop the floor. I can clean tables." He could not find a job in his field. He was excited. And when you come in and see Leandro, you're going to get a big warm hello and an even bigger smile. And it's sad to me that he had to come to me for a job, but he's excited because he knows there's opportunity brewing in the future for him to be able to work with us in his field. And then we have Alberta. Alberta is one of our customers. She came in for lunch and then for some time out in our catio. And you can see her playing there, and you can see the cat having just as much fun under her feet as she was having with them. But I think that the thing that has impressed me the most was when the young woman who's blind came in. Her staff brought her in her wheelchair, specifically to bring her out with the cats. They rolled her out onto the catio there where Alberta's at. For the first time in her life, she got to pet a cat and have the experience of having that cat on her lap and feeling that fur under the palm of her hand. So at Community Seeds, we are not just about employment. We're about enhancing lives and creating opportunities for inclusion in community. And we're not just here for the blind or Alberta or Leandro or Ray. We're here for everybody's Uncle Fred and our sons and our daughters who in adulthood still need our help and deserve our attention and our tenderness as we develop social enterprise at Community Seeds. Thank you.